disappointment when you start having these expectations. What? Oh, you freaked me out.
What is that?
Holy cow, it's a stink bug.
Don't put it this way. Oh my God.
Melissa, be grateful.
Don't.
Yeah, just like that. It's gone. You freaked me out. I didn't know where you were pointing at.
The big beetle. Where did it go?
I have no idea.
Oh, it's
We'll deal with
coming
it here in a
this way.
second. Gobble, gobble, my beautiful wife. That's how I'm choosing to start this one.
Wow.
Let me give you guys a little insight on how this usually goes. We sit down at the table, we turn on our cameras, and we go, how do we start this one?
And he comes up with gobble, gobble, my
This
beautiful
week, it was gobble, gobble. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there, our American friends. For those of you who are watching,
Yeah.
It is Thanksgiving here in the U.S. Always a happy, festive occasion.
And the official start to Christmas.
It's one of my favorite seasons, Thanksgiving, which the kids don't understand. Also, while we're at it here with this awkward intro, let me ask that you please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Again, it's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're doing.
That's what we've done.
Gobble, gobble. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving and the fact that many of you are probably watching this while preparing for your holiday, let me ask you, Mama, what is it? Oh, let me also point out that Melissa has jumped the gun once again this year and set up our little tiny Christmas tree.
Heck yeah, I did.
For everybody to take in. There's no decorations as of yet, though.
Well, I don't think I have any for this tree. I just kept it real foresty looking.
Natural.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I would like more trees. Like maybe a taller one here and one back behind you would be good.
If we're up to Melissa, this entire room would be all things Christmas because she's one of those women.
Yeah. I love Christmas and decorations. When I met you, you were the biggest bah humbug I had ever met. Seriously, such a grump. And it was because you were raised by a single dad and you were like, my Christmas tree. Wasn't it porcelain?
No, it was just a fake Christmas tree because my dad actually has
But it was little, right?
It was small. It was like a 4-foot fake tree. And was my upbringing in a nutshell.
Yeah. And no other
No, my dad has a severe asthmatic reaction to Christmas trees, especially when he was a kid. I think he's kind of outgrown it as a geriatric adult.
But
male.
no
Sorry, Dad.
garlands, no movable Santas to freak you out.
No, Christmas for me was always very simple. And yeah, that's probably due to the fact that I was raised by a single father. But I never thought anything of it at the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I grew up where we would come home from school and our whole house looked like the North Pole just barfed on it. I mean, there was like literally animatronics.
What?
Yeah, we had the
You had a Chuck E.
carolers
Cheese Christmas?
and a Santa. There was a big Santa and he just sort of moved all season long and he sang songs. And then there was a group of 3 carolers and they had like the hand muffs and they also moved. We had animatronics in our living room.
Were they creepy? I feel like they were creepy.
I loved them. We loved everything about it. My mom just went crazy. There was tinsel. There was fake snow. There was lights illuminating the fake snow.
Hey, as an adult, though, now that we have kids, I feel like you and I have done, primarily you, but I'll collectively just say you and I both have done a good job of making things as Christmassy as possible.
Yeah, when we didn't have kids and it was just us, you were like not into the decor. You didn't want to store it. You didn't want to look at it. You were just not into it. And then as we started having kids and you started to experience the whole magic of Santa coming and everything like that, you were like,
Santa.
Yeah, you got into it. And now like you just, it's not like you lost the battle. You just learned to embrace it as you saw how much the kids love it.
No, I like it. I just don't like taking everything down and storing it here in our shop.
It's fine.
It's my least favorite part of the holidays.
It's like 5 to 20 bins.
5 to 20.
Clearly labeled. Yeah.
No, you know the best part of living here out in the middle of nowhere in one of the colder parts of the country is that even now, in looking outside, it's very cold here. It's very Christmassy when you go outside. I like taking walks out to the barn, looking back at our house and seeing everything, especially when we do put Christmas lights up. It looks like a postcard out here.
Yeah, see, it's fun.
We're doing a lot of Christmas discussion. We were supposed to be coming in here to talk about what it is that we are grateful for.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. See, we're jumping the gun.
Some gratitude, being that it is Thanksgiving. We live in an amazing country. We have a very blessed life, you and I, our family as a whole. And so we wanted to hop in here because we are coming off of our pediatric cancer toy drive and fundraiser. Big, huge shout out and thank you to all of you out there who participated in that. You make such a massive impact upon us, upon CCC, which is the organization that we work with. And of course, all of our pediatric cancer warriors who are out there fighting. And all of their families as well. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, we always say it's our favorite thing that we do every year. And it really is, because it just kind of gives us an opportunity to come together with all of you guys and do something big, do something on a large scale that we would never be able to do ourselves. And I think very few people would ever be able to take on something like that by themselves.
No.
And so there's such power in numbers, and you can have such a massive impact when you come together as a community.
Yeah, I think it's one thing for a lot of you out there, like I said, who do take part and hit us up with a financial donation, or you purchase these toys off of our Amazon wish list. It's another thing to receive it all on this end. So many handwritten letters expressing that very gratitude that we're talking about. It is so impactful, like I said, and it always makes me feel slightly guilty because there's so much positivity and good in the world. And like we've pointed out here in the podcast, it's very easy, especially for somebody like me, to get sucked into the negativity, even though it is a very small percentage of the interactions that we have with so many of you online. It's an amazing experience. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I know we got so many comments when the video came out of people saying, it feels like the whole world is on fire around us. And then this video just was like this nice little warm hug.
I look forward to this every year.
Yeah.
A lot of those.
And so it can feel that way when you're watching the news or you're listening to just a bunch of podcasts, and there's so much going on in the world. And I don't believe that our brains were ever designed to filter that much information. There's never been another time in history where we hear so much bad news in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear stories that are so sad from all over the world, and we see video of it.
And it's all curated to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, you liked watching that piece of video content and get you really fired up and frustrated. Here's some more of it.
Right. And so I just don't think that we were ever designed to take on that much negativity. And even though there's positive stuff online, there's so much negative stuff. And then it really does affect the way that you view the world.
It does.
And your fellow human beings.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Yeah, there's so many people that are like, I hate people. It's like, well, yeah, there's people out there that do bad things, but there's so many good people. And that's what I love about doing something that involves charity or anything like that, because there are so many people out there involved in different organizations, different charities, or just doing things with their own family or their workplace or their churches. There are so many good people out there that care. And it's so easy for the negative to drown all of the positive out. Right. And the darkness kind of drowns out the light.
Can you talk and just speak to how it is that you became so involved and invested in working with just doing something charitable? Because this is something that you in particular, we as a family always get the credit, but I always try to place the focus and emphasis on you, because it is you who started this whole thing and always made an effort prior to us ever doing anything online, whether it was working with, these women's shelters, victims of domestic violence, whether it be all of our works with childhood cancer, and also, your pro-life organizations that you've worked with over the years. How is it that you worked your way into that?
Well, I guess charity, my dad has always been really charitable, even though he hasn't had that much to give. And so it's something he instilled in us at a young age. And my mom as well. Like every time that we would go to the mall, they would have angel tree up, which was like a tree. And then it had the red or green. Red was girls and green was boys, angels. And we would get to pick one angel. And then we would go to KB Toys, the Alderwood Mall, and we would get to pick a toy. And then you go to the little wrapping station and you put the angel on it. And we realized that was going to a child, but we didn't really realize that it was going to a child who had an incarcerated parent. And I think that's why my parents chose it. And we did that every year. And that was something we looked forward to. That was like the kind of the kickoff to the Christmas season. And then we kind of stopped doing it for a couple years because my parents own their own business, and unfortunately it went under. And we were not doing very well financially or anything like that. We had a couple of Christmases where we didn't have any gifts at all. My mom still tried to do the Christmas stocking thing, but, like put some Hershey Kisses in and like make it festive. But we still felt pretty sorry for ourselves as kids. We did, because then we would go over to my grandparents' house and my cousins would be like, oh, we got this and this and this for Christmas.
Check out the Super Nintendo.
One Christmas, my cousin got a car. And we were like, Like we did. And they were like, don't tell anybody because they didn't want anyone to pity us
Yeah.
and then like try to buy us stuff. So like we would just be like, cool, yeah. And like so we would just play it off. But then there was one year when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. We were feeling sorry for ourselves. And I felt like we were too old at that point to be feeling sorry for ourselves, but we were. We were sitting around with my brothers and we were just like, this sucks. Christmas sucks. Like, and my dad was like, that is it. Everybody go up to your rooms, get as much money as you can find. Like, I know everyone's got money. We scraped together $78. I remember, like, my sister, I think she contributed the most. She had like $40 because we used to call her Money Bags. She worked at Boston Market. And so she found $40. I think I had 20. I think my brother had 20 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it was like $80. So then we went to Safeway. This is when groceries were cheaper, obviously. And he's like, we're going to take this to a family that I know needs Christmas. And we were like, we need Christmas. He's like, no, we're going to. And so we bought sparkling cider and a turkey and like the whole Christmas dinner thing. And then he's like, I want you guys to find like the toys or whatever that you have that look the newest. And so we literally rewrapped stuff that we already had, but that looked like it was new, bath products or whatever we hadn't used. And we put together these gifts. And then my dad drove us to the barn where my horse was. And there was a family that lived back behind the barn that cleaned the stalls. And in exchange for cleaning stalls, he got to live in this tiny little trailer. It looked like Griswold trailer, like horrible conditions. And they had 4 kids in there and his wife. And they were from Mexico. And they just had nothing. And my dad knew that from talking to him. And they always took such good care of the horses and everything. And then when we showed up, it was Christmas Eve. It was like 7:00 at night. And we showed up with a full Christmas dinner and gifts for their kids. And it was so impactful because the kids were so excited. They didn't have anything in their trailer. No Christmas tree, no gifts. And they were eating like, I think they were eating like TV dinners or something. And they were so excited to have Christmas. And it was like their first American Christmas. And I just remember my dad crying when we were giving everything to him. He gets, my dad wells up. And I remember him getting like all welled up. And then we left really quick. Like we just wanted to drop it off. Thank you for taking care of the horses and goodbye. We gave them Christmas. And driving back in the car, he just kind of cried the whole way home. And I remember being, just looking at him and going like, this was really cool. And it was like one of our best Christmases because it gave us a new perspective. We went home to our warm house with our Christmas stockings my mom worked hard on. And then we went over to my grandparents' house and had this massive turkey dinner and all of our cousins were there. And our grandpa had Bibles for us and, things like that. And it was like, we are so blessed. And we were so focused on what we didn't have that we couldn't even realize that there's so many people that have less than us that we're still out there smiling and being grateful and working hard. And that shift of perspective changed everything for me.
As we head into Thanksgiving week, we want to invite you to share your blessings with children who have a mom or dad in prison and who face the prospect of a Christmas without joy this year. So this year, we've actually partnered with the nonprofit Prison Fellowship to help bless these kids through the Angel Tree Christmas program.
Yeah, growing up, my dad actually volunteered over at Prison Fellowship, and every year my sister and I would select an angel off the tree to support a child. But it wasn't until we got older that we truly understood its impact. This is something that every family can do because the cost to reach one child through Angel Tree is only $30.
Yeah, and for that, a boy or girl will receive a special Christmas gift, a note from his or her parent, and a Bible. But the impact of your gift doesn't stop there. Through your generosity, Angel Tree helps share the love of Jesus all year long to children with a parent in prison.
Just text GIFT to 717767 and we'll send you back a link where you can easily donate. Or you can phone your generous gift to 888-206-2802.
This is the most blessed season of the year, and thanks to you, it will be special to a boy or girl who will receive a gift, a personal note from their parent, and a Bible, all through Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree program. Just text GIFT to 717767 to donate today. And so that self-pity eroded and transformed into maintaining more of an attitude of gratitude, and not based on material possessions per se, even though you were young and you were sad and upset about the fact that you weren't receiving anything really high dollar and flashy.
Yeah.
But you became grateful for what it is that you did have
Yeah, I think the best gift my dad ever gave me for Christmas was
that Christmas.
that
Yeah.
Christmas
That
of
lesson.
stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
Look at other people. Like look outside of yourself and your own misery and your own heartache or your own depression or whatever it is.
Selfishness.
There's always somebody else that you can reach and help with what you're going through.
For sure. Yeah, and that's something that we've tried to pass along to our kids. Like I said, credit to you. Even with things like, our big takeaway in that year that we did the grocery giveaway down at the Safeway here in our town. I think I said it in the video. My biggest takeaway was that it is far greater to give than to receive, be the recipient of something. It's so heartwarming and fulfilling. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that it's so much more impactful to do something nice for somebody else rather than to look inward and have this very selfish mentality of, hey, woe is me and I feel like I'm being left out or left behind or I don't have enough. What do you think that stems from?
I think that just looking outside of yourself, I think when you're self-focused, it's very easy to become negative.
It is.
And being self-focused just never brings happiness because you're never going to be truly happy with who you are when you look in the mirror. You're never going to be like, I've made it. Not if you're being really honest with yourself. And when you're so self-focused, I think that's when a lot of doubt and negativity creeps in. And there's no satisfaction in just bettering yourself. Or
it's a temporary fix.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you can reach out and affect somebody else or someone else's life. So I was just listening to Andrew Huberman was talking about gratitude and the science behind it and what actually causes the endorphins and everything in that. And he was saying giving gratitude or charity does far more for a person's personal gratitude than anything else, and compliments or...
So it's measurable.
It's
scientifically.
Literally measurable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, he had a really, really neat podcast on that. Actually, I think it was last Thanksgiving he did it. And it was all on like just the science of gratitude. And it was giving gratitude and reaching out to other people through charity literally makes you the most grateful in your own life.
Even knowing that, though, I feel like it's so difficult to remind ourselves of that. Even going back, I'm thinking back to when I was still working as a police officer. And you know this, I would come home all the time, especially during the holiday season. I would always tell Melissa, this is the worst time of year to be working because tensions were high. There was a lot of that self-pity out there and a lot of really high emotions. We had a lot of self-harm and just really horrible things that would happen, especially amongst families.
DV, right?
A lot of domestic violence in households. And I told you one year, I remember I was working a graveyard shift on Christmas, and I went to a DV call where this family had gotten together, but it erupted into this large dispute, argument over God knows what. I don't recall at this point.
Yeah.
But I became so upset and frustrated because I was already in a bad mood, and I think I literally shouted out in this dining room where a Christmas dinner had been set up on a table. I was about this size, just kind of taking it out on these people saying, hey, you know what? My partners and I are all here. We're working. We're away from our families. We had very young kids at the time, or we may have even just had Nevaeh at the time. And it made me so mad. Ironically enough, that was me being very selfish, looking inward. But I became so frustrated. Like, you guys are blessed to be in a position to where you can come together and celebrate the holiday together as a family. Meanwhile, myself and my partners are here away from our families, having to deal with all of you and your own self-righteousness and entitlement. And it made me so incredibly frustrated. But with everything, it was just such a difficult time as a police officer because you saw so much of stuff like that, a lot of theft, a lot of thievery, and which, a lot of times are very sad situations too. I remember parents committing shoplifting items for their family, for their children. And a lot of times, our shift, and this was true of many shifts, would step up and try to buy like a Christmas dinner for a family if we encountered a situation during the holidays where people just were struggling.
Yeah, you guys did a Christmas tree and everything one year, I remember.
Yeah, you had Shop with a Cop to where, you could take these underprivileged children and take them out and go shopping with them. A lot of great events, but it was a really difficult time. And I wish it was just easier for all of us, myself included, because I definitely fall into this category, to remind ourselves that no matter what our circumstances are, we should all feel just this overwhelming sense of gratitude for whatever it is that we do have. Not to put a positive spin on things, but I think it's true for so many of us. And we've encountered that with so many of these families who are going through, these pediatric cancer situations, which are so incredibly sad. But so oftentimes we have conversations with these people and they remain so upbeat and positive about things, which is absolutely astounding to me because as a parent, I can think of nothing worse. And it's always just such such an amazing opportunity that we have to really feel that, take it in, and again, just remind ourselves of how incredibly blessed we are.
Well, and I think that kids are really good at looking outside of themselves, which is funny because kids have a reputation for being self-centered and egocentric. I remember when I was going to university and I was learning all about the psyche of a young child, we were always taught children are completely egocentric. They only think of themselves, and then you learn to look outside of yourselves as you grow. And then as I started working with children, I saw just the opposite. So I thought, academia, like it strikes again, right? Like just demonizing the young. And it's so funny because kids can be cruel, but there's always that child that was either bullied or has a limp or has, something, some challenge.
Mhm.
And they're going to be the ones that reach out to the other kid being picked on. And kids are so good at using their own suffering to reach out to other kids. And you see that a lot with pediatric cancer children. So right now, CCC has a child who is going through treatment and saw the impact that gift cards had on her own family.
Mhm.
And so now she's doing a gift card drive for Christmas and she's still fighting for her own life, but she's spending her holiday season raising money and gift cards to give out to other people, even though her own family could use them.
Mhm.
And I think that's so cool because she's using her own very, very unfortunate situation to bless other people going through the exact same thing, because who better to understand? And
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter what's happening in your life. There's always going to be challenges. Life is like that. And it's not like it's just targeted and on you. It's not God picking on you. I mean, unless you're Job or something, but the whole story of Job.
Mhm.
It's so horrible. So, and there's unfortunate events that happen in life. We live in a fallen world and stuff happens, and it's not God doing it to you or God permitting it or anything like that. It's just the world that we live in. Our promises are not of this world, and bad things are going to happen to everyone. Hardships are going to happen. Loss is going to happen. Illnesses, sickness, cancer, things like that are going to hit every family. And if you dwell in that, you can sink so low and you can feel so sorry for yourself. And it's not that you need to be grateful that you have this hardship going on, but you can use that suffering to reach out to someone else going through the same thing. There's been so many parents that have tragically lost a child. There is nothing worse in the world that you could ever go through. Yes, there was just a situation yesterday in our town of a little girl in kindergarten that was killed because a driver was being in a hurry.
Yeah.
And it was so needless. And now her family is facing this. But we know quite a few families that have lost children this year, 2 years ago. And in that suffering, like there is nobody else that can touch a family who's lost a child than somebody who's been through it. Like I can't reach those people.
Mm-hmm.
I can't make them feel better because they're going to look at me and go, you have 4 healthy children and 1 on the way. You don't know what we're going through. You don't know the loss.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to, there's just nothing you can do for me.
Right.
Because there's nothing you can do to fix a lot of these situations. You can't fix pediatric cancer. You can't fix the loss of a child. You can't fix a lot of things. But if someone's just there that understands, then that can be everything. Just someone to have a coffee with, someone just to sit there and know what you're going through.
Yeah, support and letting people know that you care.
Yeah. So through your suffering, no matter what it is, there's someone else going through that.
It's so tough in the moment to remember that, though. And I say that, you just referenced that story that you found on your phone about a domestic violence victim who was, you want to tell that story? Because again, beautiful ending. And it serves as such a great illustration of just not leaning upon our own understanding of why bad things happen and maybe why bad, tragic circumstances find us in life.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the girl that was stabbed?
Yeah, she was stabbed by her boyfriend.
Yeah,
correct?
by her boyfriend. 32 times she was stabbed. And then the paramedic that saved her life became her husband. So it's just, sometimes there's just beauty from ashes. Right. So it's like you can take something super tragic and then you can bond over that. There can be something great that comes out of it. And it is hard to see in the time. Like when you're in the storm, you're not going to see that purpose
Yeah.
that God has in it. But there is always purpose in our suffering. And there's, even if it's just now you understand, like there is somebody that we work with whose daughter had cancer when she was 5 and she's now 17 and she's a survivor, and she's decided to become an oncology nurse so that she can use the experience that she had for all these other children. So although that was a horrible thing that her and her family went through, and they probably did not see the purpose or light in it at the time, now 12 years later, she is getting ready to go to university, become a nurse, and then bless people for the rest of her life with a knowledge that she could never obtain in any other way.
Right. Yeah. Again, I think it just serves as such a great reminder. You referenced that that female patient that is taking it upon herself to help others around her with that gift card drive. That is not something that we've discovered to be unique about these kids.
No.
And it's, I keep repeating myself. It's just so impactful. It's amazing to me that these very young children have the presence of mind to not be self-focused, to look at their family members, to look at their siblings, especially.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and look out for them. And, hey, I'm the recipient of these gifts, but I want to pass that along to my sibling who, given the situation, especially when we encounter these families, it's like, hey, all of our focus and attention is on you. And they're so quick to deflect that and say, hey, how about my little brother? How about my little sister?
And we have seen that time and time
again. It's astounding
again.
the wisdom that these kids have to pass along to, all of us, really. It really is amazing.
Yeah. It's like the kids aren't corrupted yet. Adults become, so
we do.
It's such a misconception that kids are self-centered and adults are, I think kids are just more honest. So they seem self-centered because when something does focus on them or something does affect them, they verbalize it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that mentally they're more self-centered than adults. I think adults are by far more self-centered.
I completely agree. That's where I was going with this, is that it always makes me feel so bad. I feel such a tremendous amount of guilt sometimes, ever walking away from the times that we do these charitable things collectively. It's not us doing it again. It's you guys doing it. But I always feel so bad coming away and complaining about anything in our own life. I hate that I kind of default into that self-loathing negativity. I was complaining earlier this morning. I told you, like, I'm not going to go into the details about this, but it just there
What
are
were you
things
complaining about?
The online comparisons of certain people doing certain things that are driving me crazy. Again, I'm falling into this trap, but it's so hard to maintain this positive mindset of reminding yourself that, hey, no, it is an attitude of gratitude that you are to have regardless of the situation, and that comparison can be the thief of joy, and that things don't always play out the way that you personally would deem to be appropriate, let's say, in a way that makes sense. So I'm so grateful, going back to our whole Thanksgiving and expressing our gratitude for things. I'm grateful for just the position of opportunity that we've been placed in to have interactions with people who do such a great job unintentionally of keeping me, I suppose, in just a more grateful mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Having an attitude of gratitude or being grateful in your everyday life, sometimes it's easy to not be grateful in the daily mundanes. You start feeling like, oh, life is boring, life is mundane, life is repetitive. I live in this prison, all I do is work. But it's like, but you should be grateful that you have a job. You should be grateful that you can provide for your family. Be grateful that you come home to warm dinner. It's like, if you have somebody that you can go home and hug, you're better off than so many people. If you have somebody that you can call on the phone that is happy to hear your voice, you are so much better off than so many people. If you can sit down and breathe air, you are better off than so many people. There's people that are fighting for their lives right now. There's always somebody that would love to be where you are, no matter where you are.
What role do you think materialism, because we live in a day and age to where everybody is, look around, take your pick. Everybody becomes so fixated on possessions and thinking that that's going to serve as their source of fulfillment, when so oftentimes I would say that most definitely is not the case. You can look at people who are incredibly rich, who you would perceive to be very happy and fulfilled. And so oftentimes those people are absolutely miserable. You guys have heard us talking about the Daily Wire for months now, but right now they're having their biggest sale of the year, 50% off all annual subscriptions. So if you've been on the fence, now is definitely the time to join.
The Daily Wire Plus showcases the smartest voices in conservative media, featuring uncensored, unedited, ad-free shows from Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Brett Cooper, Andrew Klavan, and of course, Jeremy Boring. Plus, it is the exclusive home of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson and his entire library of video content, along with his exclusive Mastering Life collection that you can only find on the Daily Wire Plus.
Beyond that, the Daily Wire Plus provides access to incredible movies, series, and documentaries that not only entertain, but also reflect conservative values and promote a positive vision for the future of America.
You'll find culture-shifting films like Am I Racist? What is a Woman? Lady Ballers, Run, Hide, Fight, and so much more. Plus, like we said, now is the perfect time to join because they are running their biggest sale of the year, 50% off subscriptions.
The Daily Wire Plus is about protecting the future and staying true to what really matters. Plus, their content is incredibly entertaining. Daily Wire Plus memberships also make an excellent Christmas gift, and right now you can also gift the membership at the discounted rate of 50% off.
So click the link down in our description to put your money where your values are, or go to getdwplus.com/NWOS to join the millions who have already subscribed.
Well, material possessions are never going to fill your cup. But I think there's two aspects to it. I think one is we live in a very material world. And then the other one is this damn thing. Just as I have it sitting next to me. We live in a world of now, immediate. Food service, fast food, the internet, high-speed internet. Like, if our kids had to go through dial-up, they would just die. And, there's so many things in the past. From the very start of time, people had to wait for results. Mm-hmm. You sowed a seed, you had to wait for. That's why the practice of gardening is so important, because it teaches patience and diligence and failure. And because you're going to fail and then
which you should also be grateful for.
Yeah. And then if it does work out.
So many lessons to be learned in one's failure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like failures can be blessings as well.
And that delayed gratification. Mm-hmm. And we do not live in a time that is conducive to really placing emphasis upon those concepts. Not at all.
And even though we're kind of the last generation to grow up without all of this crap.
Thank God for that.
We're now so affected by it.
We are.
Almost as if we just grew up with it. And I think everybody with one of these.
Do you think that that's true for you? Because oftentimes we're bombarded with comments from people, remarks from people saying, oh, you guys are doing awesome. You're doing great. And while, I am incredibly happy and fulfilled with our life, I don't derive any of that happiness or fulfillment from what it is that, on the surface we've managed to do. It's served more so as a source of stress, if I'm being completely honest. Not that I'm not grateful and happy for what it is that we have, but it's not what fills my cup. Like you said, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But if a horrible, tragic situation were to meander its way into our lives, I would give all of this up in a second.
Yeah.
To right that ship.
I think, you and I view it differently, for sure. Like I think you view it more of a source of stress. And yes, of course.
What part of it?
What do you work. Mean? I don't know. I guess I view it more as an opportunity.
I'm not even talking from a work related, because the big issue I have with work is just the fact that I feel like it gets in the way and it takes away from the things that I genuinely want to be doing, the things that I truly care about, like spending time with our kids. And that's not just true for me. I mean, that's true for all of us who are
that's
have
any
to work
job.
to
I
make
think
a living,
any job. If you're commuting and you're sitting in traffic, you would much rather be with your family, and you're like, I'm wasting 2 hours of my life to and from work.
And it's why I always tell myself, like, when I'm not having like a happy moment of like, hey, it beats police work, because at least I'm here at home with you guys. We can run outside and be with our kids here in 60 seconds. And again, it's all just a trap.
Yeah. It's just human nature to always, I don't know. It's hard to find satisfaction. It really is. You have to be diligent, and you have to be honest, and you have to look outside of yourself in order to truly find gratitude and satisfaction.
I guess the bigger point I'm trying to make is that it's not necessarily about what you have as far as material possessions go. I think you need to look beyond that. If you're going to try make an attempt to find true fulfillment, there needs to be more. It needs to happen internally. It needs to be in your relationship with your family, in your marriage, with your kids, with in your faith, whatever the case may be. Those are the things that actually bring you joy. It's not a
Yeah.
new car. It's not new toys. It's not having the latest and greatest. It's making sure that you have that solid, very firm foundation. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have, I've conquered that aspect of things. But it's what I personally try to remain focused on, which is why, when I do openly and outwardly complain to you about just the way that we spend our time. It's the only thing that frustrates me, because you can always earn more money, you can always buy more things, but you can't get time back.
Right. That's true. That's true. I mean, I can definitely be kind of a workaholic. And I guess I view a lot of the platform and the opportunity as a way of doing more good or speaking out for people that need that need a voice. And so I find a lot of responsibility in this as well, especially with the podcast. And at first we were playing it kind of safe because a lot of people are like, I'm very confused by the direction you've taken things. Why are you all of a sudden speaking out about politics? And it's like, well, it's everything has been politicized, but not everything is politics. Some things are just human rights issues.
Yeah, it's not even about politics. I mean, I even when we did the name change, we kind of did this whole rebrand on the podcast. I floated to you the idea of just calling it like the things that actually matter, or something along those lines, because I don't. Again, for myself, I don't really care all that much about outward appearances. I care more so about the things that are going to affect my kids long term, and the health and happiness of all of us as individuals. And so oftentimes, unfortunately, that is tied into things that are political.
I just feel like everything's been politicized. Like
Yeah,
raw
yes.
milk has been politicized.
Yes.
Taking red dye out of food has been politicized. Deciding whether or not to vaccinate your kids, just everything has been politicized. I mean, I don't even consider like something like abortion a political issue. However, it's been so politicized. I consider that a human rights issue.
Yeah.
Protecting women's sports, protecting Title IX, that's a women's rights issue. That's not a political issue.
Agreed.
So I feel like when we're speaking about these things, it's because this is the future of our children. This is the world that they're going to be growing up in. And if people don't start speaking up, then we're just going to get, as Scott Baio said, we're going to get steamrolled.
Mhm.
People have to be willing to speak up. And then when you have a platform, I feel like you have a responsibility when you're able to be brave and be bold. Like there's people that are like, see, this is why you shouldn't have ever gone there. And it's like, no, we're not supposed to shut up. We're not called to shut up. We're called to stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
And no matter the cost, we're going to do that. And even if it becomes illegal, we're going to do that. So I guess if you don't like the
and again,
podcast, don't watch that.
that's really what we're very passionate about, is
Yeah.
preserving as much of that as we possibly can with our small little corner of the internet that we operate in here. What is it, since we are now trudging down a semi-negative path,
Yeah.
specifically, what is it that you were grateful for this Thanksgiving?
Oh gosh. I'm grateful for, just a healthy family. Like again, coming out of the toy drive and then just all the different stories that you get and everything you see on the internet. I'm just grateful that we have 4 healthy kids, one on the way who we're going to see in a couple days on the screen. And that's really what it's all about for me is the kids. The world could be on fire around me. And if my kids are happy and safe and healthy, then I'm grateful.
Yeah.
So
Samesies.
yeah, there's just nothing more important than that. And not that if you have a child that is not healthy, that you shouldn't be grateful, because as hard as that would be, not that you need to be grateful for that situation. It's okay to not be grateful for situations, but to still find gratitude in your life. And
There's always something to be grateful for.
yeah, we started this practice with the kids of gratitude journals, and it would be, I think everybody should do a gratitude journal, because it just forces you to sit down and find the mundanes in like a boring day of things that you're grateful for. So for like the kids' journal, they have to write 3 things they're grateful for every day, and it can't be anything that you mentioned prior that week, previously in that week. So I think that's really good, because you can't just be like the dog, food. Like you can't just keep repeating the same thing.
No, but I would say even things like that are okay. What does that practice look like for you? Because I know for me how that works.
I'm not that great at like doing a daily practice of that. But I guess I feel like, well, I'm a genuinely happy and peaceful person, therefore I must be grateful. I must have gratitude. So
How about in prayer? Because that's definitely where I tap into that attitude of gratitude and
Yeah,
giving
same.
thanks on a daily basis. I try to make a habit of prior to my falling asleep every night, just being grateful, thanking God for the day, thanking Him for the opportunity, thanking Him for all of our blessings,
Mhm.
and waking up in the morning and thanking Him for a new day and a new opportunity.
Yeah. The way I taught the kids to pray was lay out all of your Thanksgivings, all the things that you're thankful for, then pray for other people, then pray for yourself. And it was again just a practice of how you should be in life. First be grateful, then focus on other people, which kind of goes hand in hand, according to Andrew Huberman, which I think makes perfect sense. I'd never thought of that. And then worry about yourself.
Right.
And by not self-focusing, I think that's where so much of it comes from. And we see so many miserable housewives now. There's so many women that are so miserable in their role of stay-at-home mom that they're like, I have to get out of the house. I have to put the kids in childcare. I have to go back to work. I'm feeling unappreciated. I'm not. And a lot of that is just not being able to find that gratitude in that mundane and in that season of life.
It's perspective.
And I think we've been lied to over, pretty much since the 60s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's more so a matter of influence. I
Yep,
think
it's
we've kind of
influence.
lost our way over time, and especially with those freaking phones and the things that you
Frickin'
see.
phones.
You see people living these incredibly glamorous lives, even though that's not, again, that's just perspective. That's not the reality of the situation. And
Mhm.
we know that from, doing this ourselves and talking to a lot of other people who operate in our space. It's all, it's slanted in the wrong direction.
Right.
Let's just put it that way. And it has an awful impact on all of us individually to where we're like, hey, again, comparisons to the thief of joy. Look at the cool thing that these people are doing. Why am I not doing that? I feel a
Right.
sense of entitlement. I should, have access to that or be granted these opportunities. I hate the word deserve. I cannot
Yeah.
stand that word. That is a disgusting, despicable term that's flung around far too often, especially if you are going to be discussing things that are political. But I feel like we, in our society here in 2024, we all feel this sense of deserving when, it's opportunities are earned,
Right.
happy occasions, everything. You have to put the work in to make it happen. It doesn't just happen on its own. It's not necessarily just granted to you. Maybe that's true for some people, but it's a very slim percentage.
Right. And I don't think that those people are particularly happy.
I think they'll be miserable no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times you'll see people that have zero adversity in their life are people that tend to be atheists or tend to be very unhappy. And I think it's because we find God in our darkest moments. We find God on our knees at the rock bottom. And that's kind of unfortunate too. And that must be I felt like, I wonder if God's annoyed by that, it's in our suffering that we find God so often. That's when people are like, I have nowhere else to turn. And then finally they look up.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. And God's probably like, oh, now you need me. But in our moments of peace on our mountaintops, when we should be singing his praises and shouting to the heavens, it's so often when we forget to be grateful.
Yeah.
And when things are going well, it's easy. I know I'm guilty of it myself, of ignoring God more. And it's when I'm struggling or when I'm scared or when something's gone wrong or I'm feeling a lot of anxiety that I turn to God. And it's like you got to praise him on your mountaintops and in your valleys. And that's also like a very good practice to try to just have in your life, is always be, what are you grateful for? What can we do for others? Now it's ready. Now you can kind of focus on a few things.
Yeah, all things that should be kept at the forefront of our mind, but we unfortunately live in a world full of distractions. Again, these freaking phones.
Telling you your life isn't good enough.
Yeah, you're not good enough. I think I've come on here on the podcast and said that I feel that way a lot of times, and I deal with, especially this time of year, there's a lot of like seasonal depression that kind of kicks in. I try to fend it off, but again, just trying to find that safe, very quiet space to reflect, look inward, look upward, and just remind yourself that, hey, you have nothing to complain about. Be grateful for what it is that you have in your life currently. And just do your best to try to keep that at the forefront of your mind, like I said. All right, guys, you know those random phone calls and phishing emails that we all get? Well, they're not only very annoying, but it's a sign that your personal information is going around and being sold online, which puts you at a much higher risk for things like scammers and even worse, identity theft.
When we first signed up for Delete Me, they found hundreds of listings with our private data just 1 year ago. On our first report, they found Jeremy and I's private information in over 300 places. But then on last month's report, they only found 5 listings, which is a massive improvement. And then their privacy experts took it from there to make sure that those listings were removed as well. The cool thing about Delete Me is that they are always continually scanning the web to make sure that our data doesn't pop up again.
It's pretty much impossible to keep your private data out of the hands of scammers, and over the past 4 years, the private data on individuals has tripled with an average of 525 pieces of personal information per person available for free or for as little as $5 per profile.
We just experienced a very tense election, and over the last decade, the U.S. has witnessed steady growth in politically motivated, threatening online behavior, which is definitely peaking around election cycles. And the key enabler of that is the fact that so much of our sensitive and our personal information is available online.
So you can't always control whether you're the target of a politically motivated attack, a scam, or even identity theft, but you can make it harder by taking a proactive approach to securing your personal information with the help of Delete Me.
To give Delete Me a try and take the very first steps towards protecting your personal information online, just click the link below or go to joindeleteme.com/GSL. And remember to use our code GSL to get 20% off all consumer plans.
Yeah, I think if you're feeling down, especially going into the holiday season, because this is a time when a lot of people start feeling down or start feeling pressure, obligation.
It's not just you. That's why I'm floating this out there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us are impacted by that. So know that it's not just you.
Yeah, and I think if you start feeling that way and you start feeling overwhelmed and you start feeling grossed out by the materialism of Christmas and the pressures of it and the obligations, like, oh my gosh, we're going to have all these people over and we're just going to do a gift card exchange. Oh, you got me a $50 Amazon gift card? That's what I got you too. Like, why are we doing this rigmarole? My sister actually, we decided like probably 20 years ago that we weren't going to exchange gifts anymore because it became so obligatory.
Yeah, it's such a trivial exercise after
not even
a while.
meaningful. Yeah. I called her one year and I was like, do you want to just stop buying each other gifts? And she's like, oh, thank God. Yes. Because it was because we had both at that point had 3 children.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there were all these nieces and nephews and I was getting her toys she didn't want in her house. She was getting us toys we didn't want in our house.
Let's just make it about the kids.
We didn't even do it with the kids.
Well,
we just nixed it completely.
It's a hard thing because how many people have we told in our lives, like, hey, don't get us anything.
Yeah,
like, we don't need anything.
Don't,
For us, it's like, just get something for the kids. That's
or,
fine.
Or don't. They're
we
fine.
We need nothing from you. I get that. You know, like I to go back, now I'm being hypocritical. It's fantastic to give. It's very fulfilling. But yeah, I think when you make it such a trivial thing to where it's like just done out of obligation, like you said, there's not as much meaning behind it.
Yeah, there's massive financial strain that comes with the holidays.
Yeah, it's just stress, period.
Yeah, it's, I got to do my shopping. I got to do my wrapping. I don't even know if they're going to like this. I'm just getting them a gift card. Like, gifts should be thoughtful and meaningful. And if they aren't, then what's the point of it? And how did Christmas become so commercial in the first place? What happened to a dang Christmas orange in your stocking and a new pair of mittens mama made you? Like,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Kids used to be excited about that. It got so big.
Yeah, it's just the expectation. Again, you know, you set yourself
Sears catalog started
set yourself up for disappointment when you start having these expectations. What? Oh, you freaked me out.
What is that?
Holy cow, it's a stink bug.
Don't look at this way. Oh my God.
Melissa, be grateful.
Stop.
Just like that, it's gone. You freaked me out. I didn't know where you were pointing at.
Oh, the big beetle, and where'd it go?
I have no idea. We'll deal with it here in a second. Grateful for that moment. See, inject a little humor into the situation here. You want to keep this one shorter and start winding this down? We just wanted to hop on here really and just thank all of you, like I said, who contributed to our collective efforts to help all of these families out along with CCC. Amazing year this year. We had a last minute donation that kind of pushed us over the threshold as far as the goal that we set for ourselves, which was amazing. We had one donor who hit you up directly and said, hey,
how far are you away from the goal?
Like, what's going on here? Let me assess the situation. And was like, here's $5,000, a $5,000 donation.
That's
which
how far we were away from the goal.
Absolutely mind-boggling. So a
Yeah.
big thank you to that person as well. But
Yeah.
all of you collectively, whether you donated $1 or 5,000, we
Yep.
are so incredibly grateful for you. And we hope that you have an amazing holiday, especially once again for our American friends who are celebrating. I hope you're celebrating with loved ones, those that are close to you, your family.
Yeah.
Hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful holiday.
Yeah. And then again, if you start feeling down or you're kind of like, oh, the season's coming, or you're struggling to feel grateful, we're going to use Andrew Huberman's example of reaching outside of ourselves. There's always something you can do, whether you are in a really dark place this year, you can reach out to somebody else who is, even if you're just a cup of coffee and a shoulder to cry on, a phone call, checking up on people. If you know somebody in your life that has gone through something big this year, they've lost a parent or a spouse or a child, make sure that you check on those people through the holiday season and don't put pressure on them. Just let them know you're there. And also find your cause. Everybody has a cause, whether you love animals, whether you know how to crochet, somewhere to really look to donate time if you don't have money is old folks' homes, because elderly care facilities, there are older folks out there that didn't have children or their children have passed and their spouse has passed and they literally have no one.
Yeah.
And the holidays can be a very, very lonely time, and going in there and bringing a hot chocolate or playing the piano or whatever you can do in there, bringing a craft, anything like that can just mean the world to somebody. And I mean, maybe it's, we've done a lot with pro-life shelters or pro-life, women's shelters for battered women and children. I mean, there was one year where we adopted it was a women's shelter, and we showed up with gifts and a Christmas tree and like a lot of Christmas decor that was literally just our Christmas decor that I was like, I don't need all this. And I have this extra tree and I didn't want it because like the lights didn't work on it. So we had to string lights on it. And we brought all that there, and they didn't have a Christmas tree. They didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked. I was thinking like it would like kind of be put together because there were 4 women and like 10 kids living there. So there's always something you can do. There's always something you can donate. And it will make you feel so grateful for what you have in your own life. And it can go so far, and you can give that gift to your children or your grandchildren to teach them to look outside of themselves and find gratitude in that.
Amen, Mama. Beautiful message. And also show yourself a little grace, because like I said, it's easy to beat ourselves up. I do it all the time. So
It's
speaking
getting
from
dark
experience,
at 4 o'clock, and that can feel like the end of the world. And we understand.
It's a tough time of year for a lot of people. We realize that is not lost on us. But like Melissa said, look outside of yourself. Remain, just grateful for what it is that you have. Help those around you. Reach out to those around you. And hopefully you all have a beautiful holiday. Like I said,
have a good Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, and be nice to the women in your lives that are cooking and standing there all day.
Melissa's dreading it.
By the time the dang dinner is on the table and you make sure everything's hot at the same time, and the guys are watching football and you're like, it's hot, it's hot. And they're like, we'll get to it. And you're like, it's hot right now. And I cooked this for 9 hours. Get over here and eat it. And then they eat. And then like 15 minutes later, it's just carnage and carcasses and a lot of really greasy dishes. So have grace for the women in your life, because turkey grease is infuriating.
Women, we love you. Thank you for the holidays. Also, if you're traveling, please be safe this week. I know a lot of people
this
are
year
out
I'm doing it without wine.
These are the things that Melissa talks about and thinks about. See? Let the intrusive thoughts win.
I want all you
Blurting
ladies
out.
to have a glass of red wine for me as you cook.
I'll have a couple for you, Mom. I'll have a couple.
That doesn't make me feel better. I want the ladies to have a glass of red wine for me as they cook. If you were cooking and then having a glass of wine for me, that would be good.
Whatever I need to do. All right. Love and appreciate you guys. Have a good holiday. Stay safe. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Living in the new world with an heart.